The Secret Lake, Chapter 12, Guilty. Tom, Jack, and Stella tore across the lawn towards the island, not daring to glance back for fear of slowing themselves, and as they raced through the fading dawn mist, Stella's heart skipped a beat as she glimpsed a group of moles scuttling in a circle by the line of the trees ahead. Her mouth widened into a smile just as her plimsoll stuck something hard, and she found herself stumbling toward the ground. As quickly as her hands hit the sodden grass, she pushed herself up to see Jack and Tom disappearing toward the woods and Lucy heading off to the right. A second later, she was back on her feet, but then was immediately winded by the grasp of a man's thick arm around her waist. "Gotcha," snarled Crawley in triumph. His breath was hot in her ear. "Get off me," squealed Stella, gasping. Pummeling furiously with her elbow, she tried to break free, but Crawley's grip around her waist continued to tighten, and her iPhone was now digging deep into the left side of her tummy through her jeans pocket. "Ouch, you're hurting me. Get off." As she struggled from side to side, she was aware that the others were now running back in her direction. "Not till I have the boy thief," growled Crawley. "Jack's not a thief," Stella grunted between the clenched teeth she was pulling forward with all her might, but to no avail. "Stella's right," cut in an angry voice from one side. "You're the only thief around here, Crawley, and I'm going to tell Papa." Immediately, Crawley loosened his grip, and Stella looked up in astonishment to see Emma step from the shadows, still wearing her nightgown and overcoat. Tom, Jack, and Lucy came to a breathless halt behind her. Crawley snorted indignantly. "Well, well, now, Miss Emma. Albert Crawley, a thief, eh? Who's been telling you that nonsense?" "You are a thief," said Emma unwaveringly, "and you've been stealing our silver and Mama's money." Stella's heart was racing. As she felt her iPhone through her jeans pocket, she suddenly had an idea. She knew exactly where to find the record button. Crawley's breathing paused in her ear. As his grip loosened again, she slipped the phone from her pocket, slid her finger quickly across, and tapped twice. "Well, well, Miss Emma," he snarled, "and just suppose I'd been stealing your precious silver. Who's gonna believe you anyways?" He narrowed his dark eyes. "You're a lot enough in trouble as it is already, so best keep your mouth shut for your own good." At that moment, Henry Gladstone burst through the bushes. "What the blazes is going on, Crawley?" He peered over at Jack. "And what in heaven's name is that boy still doing here?" Immediately, Crawley freed Stella and stood upright. "Sir," he said in a barely recognizable voice. It was the boy. He put up a struggle. See? Out of control he was. He squinted darkly in Jack's direction. "And then, when he threatened me with a knife, I had to lock him in the cellar, sir. Just going to fetch the police, I was, sir, when this lot broke in." Emma stepped forward, her dark eyes gleaming furiously. "He's lying, Papa, he's lying." She rounded on Crawley. "Jack's not the thief, Crawley. You are. And poor Jacob was never a thief either. Jack's his son and told us about you accusing him." A stunned silence followed, broken only by somewhat flustered arrival of Mrs. Gladstone and Sophie in the company of the two policemen. "Emma Gladstone, what are you saying?" Her father's voice was shaking. "This is complete and utter nonsense. To suggest that Crawley—" "But, Papa, I've got proof." Emma stepped forward again and pulled a rolled-up cloth from under her coat. The children's eyes all widened. Crawley shuffled sideways as Henry Gladstone reached out and took the bundle from his daughter. With a bewildered frown, he knelt to the ground and unwrapped the cloth, which revealed an assortment of small silver objects. "Well, I never, Constance," he breathed. "Here's your pillbox, and here's that salt cellar that went missing, and the jug. No coin purse, though. Where is it, Crawley? Spent all the money, have you?" The first policeman stepped forward, quietly positioning himself behind Crawley, who ignored Mr. Gladstone's question and was starting to shift uncomfortably. Mr. Gladstone's face was taut and pale. "Emma, dear," she said, pulling her shawl around her nightgown, "where did you find all this stuff?" "Harry found it for me," said Emma, her gaze still fixed on Crawley. "Buried in a hole under a bush." She narrowed her eyes. "Buried there because Crawley was trying to hide it." Quietly, Stella breathed a sigh of relief. "Now look here," said Crawley sharply, making everyone start. "That silver's got nothing to do with me." He shot a dark look at Jack. There's no proof I put it there. It's the boy, I tell you. I saw him with me own eyes, taking silver from the house he was in, money and all. Mr. Gladstone, becoming exasperated, stood up, shaking his head. You know, Emma, Crawley is quite right. A pile of our silver in the garden hardly makes him a thief. I'm afraid to say that if you're going to expound such a ridiculous theory, you're going to have to come up with some proof. A smile flickered across Crawley's mouth just as Stella stepped forward, her arm shaking as she slowly held her iPhone out in front of her. I've got proof, she said calmly. What in heaven's name is that? Said Henry Gladstone briskly. But as quickly as he reached out to take it, he pulled his hand back as familiar, yet oddly disengaged voice filled the air in front of him. Well, well, Miss Emma, and just suppose I'd been stealing your precious silver. Who's going to believe you anyways? You are in a lot of trouble enough as it is already, so best keep your mouth shut for your own good. For a few seconds no one moved apart from the first policeman, who started furiously scribbling down notes. What on earth's Crawley doing inside that box? Exclaimed Lucy, saucer-eyed. Emma gave Stella a triumphant smile, then stamped her foot with excitement. You see, Papa, I told you Crawley was the thief. But Mr. Gladstone, still staring drop-jawed at the iPhone, didn't answer. Along with his wife and his eldest daughter, he seemed to have gone into a momentary trance. Crawley started muttering in bewilderment, then took 2 pieces backwards into the firm grip of the second policeman. Mr. Gladstone finally snapped out of his trance and started slowly shaking his head. I'll make this up to Jacob, he said, if it's the last thing I do. As Crawley struggled with the policeman, Jack smiled and nodded gently at Tom and Stella, then sidled toward a bush. Where's that poor boy? Said Mr. Gladstone, suddenly looking all around. Jacob's son, eh? Well, I'll be darned. Must have been frightened off, said the policeman. He won't be far, sir. We'll get someone to go and look for him, will you please? We need to clean him up and take him home to his family. Oh, Lucy, dear, said Emma loudly as Crawley was led away. She was staring hard in her friend's direction and curling her hair purposely around her forefinger. Isn't your uncle's machine from Australia quite wonderful? And to think that he let your cousins bring it in with them on their visit to you. As soon as Lucy saw Emma twisting her hair with her fingers, her puzzled frown metamorphosed into a wide smile. Oh, why, yes, of course, Emma. It's quite unbelievable, isn't it? She feigned a yawn and tossed her long blonde hair behind her shoulder. Well, cousins, I think we're all very tired, aren't we? Time for bed, I think. And she slipped her arms through Tom and Stella's, turned them around with her, and frog marched them off. Okay, so do you think that Tom and Stella are going to bring Lucy and Emma back to the present day with them? Should be interesting to find out.